One thing is true about all 7 of these bourbons. They're delicious. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, if you're a fan of the Whiskey Tube community, or if you've been watching my channel for a little while now, thanks so much for the support, by the way. If you have, you'll probably be aware that there's a lot of different kinds of whiskey content out there. There's lists about, which bourbons or whiskeys are the best at every single price point. There's head-to-head battles. There's lists about what people are hunting. There's like allocated lists. All this stuff comes out, and I think all that's great because it keeps us informed and it's fun to consume that content. But in all of that, sometimes it's easy to forget that the most important thing about a bottle of bourbon is whether or not it tastes great and if it's truly delicious. So I wanted to take a step back and today, there's no rules to this list except for one rule, which is the bourbons had to be delicious. So I picked 7 from my collection that I think really are fantastic bottles and just taste great. So without further ado, let's dive into that list. Hopefully this gives you some food for thought or another great bottle to add to your list to go out and grab because it just tastes real dang good. Okay, so first on my list is from one of the most well-known distilleries in the world. That is Buffalo Trace Bourbon. So as much flack as Buffalo Trace gets for all their stuff being hard to find, they make quality whiskey. And this standard flagship bourbon at 90 proof, around $25, $26, is really, really good. Cherry, vanilla, grape, really interesting grape note I get on Buffalo Trace. Brown sugar for days. It's around 8 years old, and that's just great for a flagship product. It's truly delicious. Pretty much in any season, any time of the year, you pour me a glass of Buffalo Trace and I'm gonna sip on it and say, dang, that's good whiskey. Okay, next is one of my favorite bottles, usually available for around $40 to $50. I think this is just quintessential, really, really good bourbon, and that is Heaven Hill 7-year bottled in bond. For me, this has that rich cherry, brown sugar, and oak interplay that you're really looking for in a quality, well-rounded bourbon. I've given this to a lot of different people to sip on, and they've almost all come away liking it. It's just that classic and well-rounded and really does it really well. So, Heaven Hill bottled in bond 7-year, if you haven't tried it yet, this is a delicious pour and worth grabbing if you can. All right, next on the list is a newcomer to the scene, but from a producer of whiskey that I have long been an admirer of, and that is Barrel Foundation. This is the 100 proof release from Barrel. They've done pretty much everything else they've ever done has been barrel strength. They finally broke that mold, and now they are releasing this product at 100 proof. It's 5 years old minimum, but there is a blend of up to 9-year-old stuff in here. It's so good. It's just delicious. When I sip on it, the word that comes to mind is, dang, this stuff is delicious. It's got a lot of different flavors, from your dark kind of fruits and berries all the way up to your like light, bright honey. It's just a nice mix of everything and truly tastes very good. Okay, the next bottle is one that I've had for a while and I don't highlight it enough on the channel, but it really does have powerful, great flavors, and that is 1792 full proof. So at 125 proof, this has good cinnamon heat, like all over it, wallop of brown sugar, good vanilla, but it's just kind of full force in your face and very flavorful. So I don't highlight this one enough, but it really is good. And it's one of those bottles where like every time I pour it and come back to it, I'm like, dang, this stuff is really solid, flavorful whiskey. And so wanted to give it a little spotlight today because I think it belongs on this list. All right, the next bottle on this list is actually what I'm sipping on today, because you can't make a list of delicious bourbons and not sip on one yourself, right? So let me just take a little pause here. Ooh, I'll tell you what, packs a punch too, and that is Jack Daniel's single barrel proof bourbon. My particular bottle is 130.4 proof, so that tells you these are proof monsters. They come in full force. This one is so full of banana and brown sugar and vanilla. It's like banana pancakes with whipped cream. It's just really, really delicious. Again, that's the name of the game here for this list. I honestly think if you got yourself a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof bourbon, and if you're into that really high octane, high proof bourbon, it's one of those ones that really shows you how much going up in proof can dial up the flavors from, you know, your typical 8 or 9 on the dial to 11. It really takes them up. So really, really good stuff here, and just delicious. Okay, let's get to our last 2 bottles. The next one is from a distillery that I love, but this bottle in particular, every time I think about it, I'm just like, man, that stuff is tasty. And that is Russell's Reserve Single Barrel. Cinnamon and brown sugar come together in this single barrel in a way that is just phenomenal. Now, it is a single barrel, just like the Jack Daniel's, so your results may vary. You'll probably get some slight variations, but the basic profile here of that wild turkey, brown sugar, cinnamon, this one turns down that funk for me and really turns up like a chocolatey note. It is really, really good and so tasty, and every time I sip on it, I'm just happy. And I know that I'm going to replace it once this one gets low, because I definitely want a Russell's Reserve single barrel on the shelves at all times for me to be able to sip on. All right, last but not least on the list takes us up quite a bit in terms of price point, but the flavors and the quality of the whiskey totally backs it up, and that is Bardstown Bourbon Company's Discovery series. So I've got the 11 here. This is the most recent release, at least as of the time of making this video, and man, it's phenomenal. So this is a very special one. The 11 likely has stuff from Wild Turkey, 13-year age stocks from Wild Turkey, which would be on par with Russell's Reserve 13 if that's all true. And it tastes so good. It's so much rich cherry. It's like a black cherry and vanilla ice cream to me. It sounds weird to describe a bourbon that way. I know sometimes I even pause and I'm like, really? Does it really taste like that? But yeah, it does. It actually does. It's really, really, really tasty. And in fact, it is delicious. Okay, everybody, I think that's gonna do it. That's my list. There's kind of a mixed bag of things here. Some are less available, some are more available. Price point varies up and down here. But what's true about each of these bourbons in front of me, from my experience, they are wonderful to sip on, very tasty, and truly delicious. So let me know what you think of my list here. What would go on your own personal list? Put that down in the comments below. Do you think I missed anything? I'm thinking this maybe needs a follow-up video to highlight some other bottles that I think are truly awesome as well, because I definitely had to cut some out and couldn't go too big with this list. But again, let me know in the comments below. While you're at it, hit the like button on this video, helps get it out to more people. And then if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining us for the journey of hopefully sipping on more and more delicious whiskey throughout 2024 and beyond. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, delicious whiskey, and cheers.